Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 30th of August 2023. In today's newspaper discussion, we are going to cover many topics from the editorial section and also other section of the newspaper. Along with this, we have also included some map topics, okay? And we are going to discuss about some concepts related to geography, some concepts related to polity, and also we are going to include some questions for the prelims and mains exam. So with this, let us start the discussion of the Hindu newspaper. So these are the list of articles that we are going to cover in today's discussion. Okay, so these are the list of articles that we are going to discuss. So this is the first topic that we are going to discuss today. It says the Election Commission, autonomy in the crosshairs. Okay, the Election Commission, autonomy in the crosshairs. So let us understand about this topic. Topic is the Election Commission. Autonomy in the crosshairs. So, like before we start discussing this topic, let us understand the meaning of this word crosshair. Crosshair means focal point. Okay, it simply means focal point, something on which, like, there is focus of everyone. Okay, so this is the, let's say, literal meaning from this thing. Okay, so the Election Commission of India and its autonomy is at the focal point now. Why it is at the focal point? Because like we are about to have, right, we are about to have an election, general election in 2024. That general election is also known as Lok Sabha election, and through that election, a new government will come into power. It can be the existing government that can come into power, or an entirely different party can come into power. Okay, so what is the role of Election Commission of India in conducting elections, right? So the thing is, the Election Commission of India, which is in short known as ECI, this Election Commission of India has been mandated with the responsibility of conducting free and fair election for India. Okay, for conducting free and fair election. Okay, fair election in India. Okay, free and fair election in different states, as well as, let's say, for the general election. So this Election Commission of India is a constitutional body. Okay, it is a constitutional body. Means there is a reference in the Constitution of India. In the Constitution of India, there are many articles, right? There are many articles, and among those articles, there is an article which is Article 324. Okay, there is an article which is known as Article 324. This Article 324 talks about the Election Commission of India. It talks about, let's say, like the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners, how they are going to be, let's say, elected, right? So that is mentioned. So the thing is, like, since there is a mention of the Election Commission of India in the Constitution itself, so it becomes a constitutional body. So this constitutional body has been entrusted with one of the most important responsibilities, one of the greatest responsibility that any institution can have in India, which is conducting free and fair election. Why elections are important? Because through elections, different parties come into power. Once these parties come into power, these parties also have their own, let's say, agenda. They have their manifesto, and they implement their, let's say, their policies, and these policies affect all the citizens of India. They affect the citizens of India at large. Most of these policies are meant to, let's say, benefit the citizens of India. However, there can be policies that can affect negatively, right? That can affect the citizens of India or many other stakeholders also. So that's why conducting free and fair election is one of the most important role of this particular body. However, like when it comes to conducting the election, so the Election Commission of India should be manned by people who are impartial, by people who are, let's say, competent, by people who are, let's say, educated, by people who are understanding. So the thing is, That's why the Election Commission of India has a composition, right? It has a composition of members. So the Election Commission of India has many members of it, okay? Who are the members? The first member is known as Chief Election Commissioner, okay, CEC. Then others are known as election commissioners, okay, election commissioners. So there will be one Chief Election Commissioner and there will be other election commissioner, okay, election commissioners. How these Chief Election Commissioner and election commissioners are appointed? They are appointed by the President of India, okay, they are appointed by the President of India. So far the ruling government has been, let's say, like, like helping the President of India in identifying a good person, in the sense like they recommend the President of India that like you appoint this person as the Chief Election Commissioner, you appoint these persons as election commissioners. However, if the ruling party, let's say, appoints, right, like members of the Election Commission of India, so there are questions of autonomy of this particular body, the Election Commission. Why? Because Election Commission of India is, let's say, entrusted with the responsibility of conducting free and fair elections, and these elections are going to determine the fate, are going to determine the future of the political parties. So a political party which is, let's say, a ruling party will never want to, let's say, give away its power. So there can be clashes, and for that thing it is very important that, like, this, like, autonomy of this particular body should be preserved, okay? So autonomy of this body should be preserved. What do we mean by autonomy? Autonomy means the ability of the body to take decisions, like, without any pressure, right? Without any, let's say, influence. Means like, they should be autonomous enough so that they can decide how they want to conduct election. They can decide freely without any, let's say, influence, without much influence from the political parties, okay? So now in this article they have talked about like why autonomy is important. So, like, the title of the topic says the Election Commission, autonomy in the crosshairs, means like autonomy at the focal point, okay? So how autonomy will be maintained? So basically, like, recently what has happened in the Supreme Court of India, there was a case, right? So the Supreme Court of India, I am writing in short, Supreme Court of India was hearing a case, and in that case the Supreme Court of India has given directions, okay? It has given a directions, or you can say a judgment, and this particular judgment was a unanimous judgment of 5-judge bench, okay? 5-judge bench means it was a constitutional bench, okay? It was a constitutional bench, and the constitutional bench has said that, like, the government should make a law, it should frame a law to decide how to appoint Chief Election Commissioner and election commissioners, okay? How to appoint, and also to decide, right, what should be their, let's say, like, like what should be the conditions of service for them, what remuneration they should be getting. So all of it is in place, okay? So there is security of tenure also to the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners. Means like it says that the Chief Election Commissioner may be removed from the office in a manner which is, like, which is similar to the impeachment of a judge from the Supreme Court of India. Means if you want to remove a judge from the Supreme Court of India, you have to go through different procedures. One of the procedure is, let's say, like, you need to pass bill, you need to impeach it through the parliament. So it needs 2/3 majority of the parliament. So removing the Chief Election Commissioner is one of the most tedious tasks. Similarly, removing the High Court judges. So that's why, right, presently this is the case. However, there is no law made in this regard. So the 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court of India has taken a decision, and in that decision they have said that the government of India should frame a law in this regard. And meanwhile that they are framing the law, so, like, they have recommended that, like, there should be a three-member body, okay? There should be a 3-member body which is going to appoint the Chief Election Commissioner and election commissioners. So one of the member will be the Prime Minister of India, the other member will be leader of opposition, LOP, leader of opposition party. Then third member will be the Chief Justice of India. So, like, this was recommended by the Supreme Court of India through its 5-judge bench. However, what has recently happened is that the central government has come up with they have come up with a law. They have, let's say, introduced a bill in the parliament. Okay, they have introduced a bill in the parliament in 2023. That bill talks about how to appoint the chief election commissioner and election commissioners. And in that bill, they have said that, it is again going to be a 3-member body. Okay, so they say that appointing body will be a 3-member body, and that body will comprise of the Prime Minister of India. It will comprise of leader of the opposition party, and it will comprise a cabinet minister. Okay, it will comprise a cabinet minister, and this cabinet minister will be nominated. Okay, he will be nominated by the Prime Minister of India itself. So the thing is, this raises question on the autonomy of the Election Commission of India. Why? Because in the let's say appointing body, so there is the Prime Minister and there is cabinet minister. So from the same party there are 2 people, and from the opposition there is one, let's say, 1 person. So the thing is, and these people together, they are going to together recommend the President of India that whom to appoint, right? Whom to appoint. So related to this article has been written. So in this article, the author has talked about that, this raises question on autonomy of the Election Commission of India. And the author says that why autonomy is important, that I have already discussed, because so related to autonomies, the author has talked about, let's say, various committees. Okay, so far many committees have been appointed. Okay, many committees have been appointed to, let's say, recommend the way how let's say appointing committee should be. Okay, so what should be the composition of the appointing committee? So the thing is, in this article itself, they have talked about 2 such committees. One is VM Tarkunde committee. Okay, one of the committees V.M, this Tarkunde. Okay, VM Tarkunde committee. So this committee was appointed, right? This committee was appointed by Jai Prakash Narayan. Okay, this committee was appointed by Jai Prakash Narayan. Okay, Jai Prakash Narayan in 1975. Okay, in 1975. Apart from this, there is another committee that was set up for the same purpose. This is known as the Dinesh Goswami committee. Okay, the second committee was Dinesh Goswami committee. Okay, Dinesh Goswami committee. So this was the second committee that was set up, and this committee was set up, right, on electoral reforms, right, by the then Prime Minister VP Singh. Okay, so it was appointed by the Prime Minister VP Singh in 1990s. Okay, in 1990s, like that. And apart from this, the second Administrative Reforms Commission. Okay, so apart from this, there was another commission which is known as second ARC, Second Administrative Reforms Commission, and in its 4th report, okay, in its 4th report, they have mentioned about how to what should be the composition of the, let's say, board members who are going to nominate a person to the president, that this person should be appointed as the chief election commissioner or election commissioners. Okay, so what they have done is, they have recommended a broad-based collegium. They have recommended, so this particular body should be of at least 7 members that will comprise of the President of India, the, let's say, Minister of Law and Justice, the Chief Justice of India, and many other members. However, so far, I mean, none of these recommendations have been implemented. And the thing is, the Constitution of India has given this responsibility to the central government to, let's say, appoint a committee, right, to make a law in this regard. Now the question is, the law that the central government is coming up with. Okay, so this particular bill, okay, this particular bill is being criticized. It has, let's say, it has been introduced in the parliament, it has not been passed. So now the author says that the as the focal point of differences between government and the judiciary over its appointment procedure, the Election Commission of India is in danger of being weakened. So the author says that the Election Commission of India is in a danger of getting weakened. Okay, means like, you know, its autonomy may be taken away. That's the thing. So with this, like, we are going to solve two questions. One of the question is for the prelims exam, other is for the mains exam. So let me read the mains question for you. It says the Election Commission of India works as the watchdog of democracy. In light of this, discuss what are various constitutional and statutory provisions that ensures the independence of Election Commission of India. Okay, so you need to mention about the constitutional and statutory provisions, okay, the provisions that are available to ensure the independence of the Election Commission of India. Here you can talk about, let's say, like, you know, that the condition of service cannot be varied after appointing the Chief Election Commissioner or election commissioners, and you can mention about the security of tenure that they have, right? So that's the thing. So like, after writing an answer to this question, you can share it with me, right, at Jahidul@lukmaanias.com. I'm going to evaluate your answer and I'm going to share the feedback, right, on the answer. Apart from this, we have a question related to prelims. It says, with reference to the Election Commission of India, consider the following statements. 3 statements are given. We need to identify how many of the above statements are correct. First says the CEC is appointed by the President of India. CEC means the Chief Election Commissioner. Yes, he is appointed by the President of India, definitely. Second, the Union Cabinet Minister is the part of the selection committee which advises the President. Okay, this is not the case as of now. If the bill that was introduced by the Parliament, right, in its original form, if it gets passed, then this will be true. Otherwise, this is not right, okay, because Union Cabinet Minister is not a part of this now. Third, it says Jai Prakash Narayan Committee suggested to change the procedure of appointment of Chief Election Commissioner. Okay, so basically, like, you know, it is not a committee of Jai Prakash Narayan. Jai Prakash Narayan has appointed a committee. Okay, so that name of that particular committee is VM Tarkunde Committee. Okay, so VM Tarkunde Committee. So this Jai Prakash Narayan has appointed a committee, and that committee has recommended a change of the procedure of the appointment of the election commissioner. So indirectly this is right. Okay, so indirectly this is right. So with this, like, you know, so like indirectly if we consider, this will be right. So answer will be option B. Okay, answer will be option B, because we have just discussed about it. Otherwise you can make it wrong also. It depends, right? Because name of the committee is VM Tarkunde Committee that we have discussed. Okay. So with this, let us move to the next topic. This topic is again important. It says gig workers bill, reading between the lines. Okay. So what is gig worker? What are gig workers bill? So we are going to discuss about it. Okay. So this is topic number 2. Gig workers bill, reading between the lines. Okay, reading between the lines. So let us understand about this particular topic. So first of all, let us understand about what is the context of this particular topic. Context is recently, right, Rajasthan became the first state in India to pass a gig workers bill, to introduce a gig workers bill, and it has passed an act in that regard. Okay, so that has been passed, and this bill actually gives some rights to the gig workers. So we need to understand what are gig workers, and also we need to understand what is the name of this particular bill that was passed by Rajasthan government. Okay, so I'm going to write the name of the bill also. So this article was there in page number 7. It says Rajasthan platform based gig workers. Okay, name of the bill is Rajasthan platform based gig workers. Okay, Rajasthan platform based gig workers. Okay, Registration and Welfare Bill 2023. Okay, registration and welfare, okay, bill. So that bill has become an act, so I am writing Act 2023. Okay, so this act has been passed by the state government of Rajasthan. Okay, so this act has been passed by the government of Rajasthan, and so they have passed this particular act based on, okay, based on Code on Social Security. So this is based on which what? So this is based on Code on Social Security, okay, Code on Social Security 2020. So the union government has come up with a code. So they had, let's say, like, you know, amalgamated like various codes, like around 44 codes have been amalgamated into 4 different kind of codes. One of those codes is Code on Social Security. Okay, so this code on social, so using this Code on Social Security as an inspiration, the state government of Rajasthan has passed this particular bill, which is known as Rajasthan Platform Based Gig Workers Registration and Welfare Act 2023. It has become an act now, right, since it has been passed. Now we need to understand who are gig workers. Okay, so we need to understand the definition of gig workers. Okay, we need to understand definition of gig workers. So who are gig workers? Basically those people who are working for some kind of platform. For example, people who are working as delivery boys. Okay, delivery boys. For example, like, you know, like if I talk about Zomato, so Zomato is a food delivery app, right? So people who are working as delivery boys for Zomato, so they can be considered as gig workers. Okay, they can be considered as gig workers. Second example, okay, if I talk about Ola or if I talk about Uber, so these are, let's say, like, you know, taxi service providing platforms, right? So the drivers of these platforms, okay, drivers who are working with Ola, Uber, so they can be considered as gig workers. So this is the definition of gig workers. Now these are examples of gig workers. Now we need to understand the definition. Basically, like, you know, these here delivery boys, drivers, they are gig workers. Okay, they are gig workers. However, if I talk about Zomato, Ola, Uber, right, Zomato or Ola, Uber, what are these? These are, let's say, they are known as digital intermediaries. Okay, they are known as digital intermediaries. Okay, digital intermediaries, or they can be called as aggregators. Okay, they can be called as aggregator platforms. Okay, aggregator platforms. Zomato, Ola, Uber, the company, right, that are operating these apps, applications, so they can be called as digital intermediaries or aggregators. And the people who are working there, delivery boys, drivers, they can be considered as gig workers. What is the definition of gig workers? Gig workers are those people who are working on contractual terms with these companies. Contractual terms means, like, if they do a delivery, they will be paid some amount for doing the delivery. These people are not, right, you know, these gig workers, these people are not employees of these like, you know, these companies. They are not employees because of the, let's say, type of contract that has been drafted by these companies. So since they are not considered as employees, so there do not exist any employee-employer relationship between them. If employee-employer relationship do not exist between them, in that case, these gig workers, the drivers or delivery boys, they do not get any, let's say, you know, social security. They do not get any insurance. They do not get any health facility in case they meet with an accident. So the thing is, and they do not get any regular salary also, right? So the thing is, like this, the kind of contract that these companies have drafted, these contracts are exploiting the human resource in India. They're exploiting the people, right? The drivers, the delivery boys, okay? They're exploiting it. So the thing is, like, is it the same case with all other countries? If I talk about in India, so there is, let's say, like a, you know, the contract that these companies have drafted, these contracts, they do not consider them to be their employees. And so, like, in that case, they are not employer, and that's why they do not fall under any kind of, let's say, obligation, legal obligation to give them social security. Since they do not fall under legal obligation, so, like, these companies are evading the labor laws. Okay, they are evading the labor laws. So now we need to understand, like, is it the case with all other countries? In many other countries, for example, the United States of America or UK, Australia, in these countries also, initially, like, this has been the similar case. However, the United Kingdom, UK, has passed a law, and in that law they have mentioned that, like, these people, these companies, which is like, digital intermediaries or aggregators, they will be considered as employers, and people who are working, they will be considered as employees, and they have to give all the social security, all the things. And similarly, like, there is a movement in many other countries of doing similar things. In Australia also they have done it. But now we need to understand, like, this particular bill, which is Rajasthan Platform Based Gig Workers Registration and Welfare Act, this particular bill, like, how does it treat, does it treat employee-employer relationship? It does not treat in that manner. So the wordings that they have used, the language that they have used in the act, right, does not say like they are employee-employer relationship. What it does, it basically like creates a welfare board. Okay, what it does, it creates a welfare board for gig workers. Okay, or welfare board for gig workers. And this particular welfare board, okay, this welfare board actually, like, it has, let's say, representation from the state government, right? It has representation from the companies. Companies means Zomato, right? Zomato, or let's say Ola, Uber, etc. Okay, these companies. Okay, so these are some of the example, but, like, you should not consider that these are the only companies. There can be many such companies. Okay, so companies, and the third stakeholder in this particular board is the representative from the gig worker. Okay, they will be representative of gig workers. So there will be around 4 to 5 representatives from the gig workers. Now the question arises that, like, these people who are going to represent the gig workers, so they are going to represent gig workers in front of the government, let's say, like, government officials, and let's say high level employees of these companies. So will they be having an equal standing? That's also a question. And apart from this, to protect the rights or give some kind of social security, the state government of Rajasthan, what they have done is they have, let's say, applied some kind of cess, okay, some kind of cess for all the transactions that happens, right, that happens through the platform. Okay, so this cess money will be used, right, will be, let's say, collected in a kind of fund, okay, which is known as welfare fund. Okay, so this is the case that is happening. Now in this article, the author has talked about that 4 major issues that could possibly constrict the remit and reach of the bill. Okay, so the author says that there are 4 such, okay, 4 such, let's say, like, issues that may constrict, or that may, let's say, hamper the actual delivery of service, or, like, that may hamper the rights of the gig workers. Okay, that may hamper the rights of the gig workers. So author has mentioned about these things, that the bill aims to create a database of gig workers wherein the details of all workers on board or registered will be platformed. Okay, so in this article, the author has talked about those issues. Okay, author has discussed about 4 issues, I mean, like, that may hamper this particular thing. Okay, so you can go through this article and learn about it. Okay, learn about it. So I have made you understand the basic thing related to this particular topic. So with this, let us move to the next topic quickly. And before that, we have a question for you. This question says, with reference to Gig Workers Act 2023, with reference to Gig Workers Act 2023, consider the following statements. They have given 3 statements. Now, first statement says, Kerala is the only state to have Gig Workers Act. This statement is wrong because this is not Kerala, this is state of Rajasthan. Okay, this is the state of Rajasthan. Second, under the Gig Workers Act, an aggregator working in the state will avail benefits under the act. Okay, aggregator. Now they are saying an aggregator working in the state will avail benefits under the act. Yes, like there can be benefits for the aggregator, there can be benefits for the gig workers also. Third, the minister in charge of the Department of Labor Rajasthan will be the ex officio chairperson of the Gig Workers Welfare Board. This is right. Okay, so like this can also be right. So like option B, which is like which says only 2 will be the right answer. Okay, option B will be the right answer. Why this one is right? Because like that talks about aggregators, gig workers, so they are given rights also, they are given responsibilities also. And for the aggregated platforms, for the digital intermediaries, there are, let's say, provision of fine also. And if these platforms repeat like the offenses under the act, so there will be, let's say, aggravated fine, means like they will be fined more, they will be, let's say, fined more under this particular act itself. So with this, let us move to the next topic quickly. Now, this topic is important. It says reroute rail track through Gibbon Sanctuary. Okay, so basically, like you can see some of the, let's say, animals over here. They are known as hulok gibbons. Okay, they are known as hulok gibbons. And there is a sanctuary in the state of Assam that protects these gibbons. Okay, name of the sanctuary, right, is mentioned over here. Okay, it is known as Holongapar Sanctuary. Okay, name of the sanctuary where like hulok gibbons are protected, it is known as Holongapar Sanctuary. And in this sanctuary, what happens, what has happened, let's say like this is the total area of the sanctuary, and in the middle of the sanctuary somewhere, let's say like they have created a rail route. They have created a rail route, and because of the rail route, I mean like the sanctuary got divided into 2 different parts. And like these gibbons are isolated. Okay, these gibbons are isolated from their family members, and it has happened long back. So author are saying that because they are isolated, so these there is a habitat fragmentation. Their habitat got fragmented, and that's why their population is declining. So the author suggests, okay, author and the primatologist, means people who study the primates. Okay, they are primates. Okay, so primates and author suggests that this particular route, the rail route that has been earlier created, it should be diverted. Okay, it should be diverted, means like it should be, let's say, rerouted, so that like we can integrate the fragmented portion of the, let's say like Holongapar Sanctuary. Okay, so this is the thing in this article. So we are going to see, so these are hulok gibbons, so we can see the image, right? So they are endangered, right? They are endangered species under International Union for Conservation of Nature. This is also important. And this is the map of the Holongapar Sanctuary. So in India, in the northeast portion, like in the center of northeast, we have Assam, and over here in the Jorhat district, they have this particular sanctuary, which is known as Holongapar Sanctuary. Now we have another question for you. We need to answer this question. Okay, we need to answer this question. It says, identify the type of a species being described below. Okay, so they have given a description of this species. It says it is the only ape in India. It is one of the 20 species found worldwide inhabiting tropical and subtropical forest in Southeast Asia. It is the smallest and fastest of all apes. Okay, this is a very important information. It is the smallest and fastest of all apes. They have become endangered due to habitat loss and fragmentation. So it says select the correct answer. So what is the description all about? This is the description of hulok gibbons. Okay, hulok gibbons. We have just seen images of hulok gibbons. Okay, so this is the thing. Now with this, let us move to another topic. This topic is again important. Now this case has taken a turn about. It has, let's say, taken a turn. We are going to understand about this case. It says, when will you restore Jammu and Kashmir statehood? CGI asks center. Okay, CGI stands for the Chief Justice of India. So this is the photograph of Chief Justice of India, like Justice D.Y. Chandrachud. He has recently asked the central government that when are you going to bring back statehood to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And the Chief Justice of India along with 4 other judges, means there is a constitutional judge bench, okay, there is a constitutional bench of the judges in the Supreme Court of India, 5-judge bench. They are hearing the matter related to abrogation of Article 370 from the Constitution of India. So the Article 370 of the Constitution of India has been abrogated by the central government following certain steps, and the procedure that they have followed, these procedures are not in line with the federal provisions or federal spirit of the Constitution of India. So this has been debated by the petitioners in the Supreme Court of India. Okay, so they have raised their issue in the Supreme Court of India related to this, and also the central government is also representing its stand. It is, let's say, defending their move. So recently the Chief Justice of India has, let's say, heard from both the parties, and they have identified that the way that the statehood was taken away, it is not in sync with the provisions that are mentioned in the Constitution of India. There are many things. Initially, they have dissolved the Legislative Assembly of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. After dissolving, I mean, they have, let's say, a governor's rule. They have, let's say, a governor was appointed. And after 6 months of that, they have applied President's rule. And after applying President's rule, what they have done? They have, let's say, abrogated Article 370. However, I mean, for abrogating Article 370, there is a provision of abrogating Article 370, but for that they need to get recommendation, prior recommendation from the State Legislative Assembly of the Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, prior recommendation of, to be precise, the Constituent Assembly of the Jammu and Kashmir. However, Constituent Assembly of the Jammu and Kashmir became, functus officio. Functus officio means that Constituent Assembly was there for making the Constitution of the Jammu and Kashmir. And after the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir came into being, the Constituent Assembly ceased to exist. Then came the Legislative Assembly. However, is the Constituent Assembly equivalent to the Legislative Assembly? No. There are many differences in that. The Constituent Assembly was given the authority to enact the Constitution of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. However, the Legislative Assembly of the state of Jammu and Kashmir does have limited authority, limited power, in amending the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir. Similar is the case with the Constitution of India. Okay, the Constituent Assembly of, let's say, Constituent Assembly in case of Constitution of India, for drafting Constitution of India, it had the authority to frame the Constitution of India, to make the Constitution of India. However, when the Constitution of India was enacted, then later on came the Legislative Assembly. Okay, not Legislative Assembly, came the Parliament. So the Parliament has limited capacity of amending the Constitution. They have limited rights. They cannot amend everything because there are safeguards that are available. And for that, the Supreme Court of India is the interpreter of the Constitution. Supreme Court of India is the guardian of the Constitution. Okay, so in this article they have mentioned about the case that is happening, and the recent update is that the this Chief Justice of India has asked the Solicitor General of India that you interact with the central government, you interact with the government and tell us when you are going to bring back the statehood. And they have responded that yes, statehood will be brought back. However, Union Territory of Ladakh will remain Union Territory. That's the thing. So this is the update, and this is another topic which is relevant or connected with the previous topic itself. This topic says the Jammu and Kashmir bifurcation and integration without integrity. Okay. So this article, I mean, it's not a new article. The entire article that has been written over here, this article was written on 6th of August 2019, means just one day after the abrogation of Article 370 by the central government. Okay, the day when central government has abrogated Article 370 in 2019, on the next day this article was written. And so they have, let's say, given this article also because recently the Supreme Court of India has asked, like, when the statehood will be brought back. Because why statehood will be brought back? Because the thing is, the central government may convert a state into union territories, but for that there are constitutional provisions. Okay, they need to follow those let's say like steps. However, they did not follow in this case. And also, since Jammu and Kashmir is a like state, Jammu and Kashmir is a state, bordering state, I would say. It has international borders with other countries. So the thing is, it is important to maintain safety and security or integrity of India, like, in that state, so that, like, the national security is also an issue over there. Okay, so that's the thing. Now here, in this article, they have talked about the Jammu and Kashmir bifurcation and integration without integrity. So in this article, the author has talked about many things, and the crux is that the author said, that the Constituent Assembly of the Jammu and Kashmir and Legislative Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir are not the same body. Okay. However, when the central government has abrogated Article 370, they considered the Legislative Assembly to be the same, and they have considered that, like, they have the consent of the state legislative assembly. How? Because they have initially dissolved the legislative assembly, then came the governor's rule, then came the president's rule, and president himself or herself has given consent to herself, let's say, to do this. So in this article, they have criticized the move of the central government in abrogating Article 370. Okay, so why they have shared this article? Because recently a 5-judge bench of the Constitution headed by Chief Justice is currently hearing. Okay, so related to that. Okay, so now earlier, let's say this was the state of Jammu and Kashmir. After abrogating Article 370, they have made it into 2 union territories. One union territory was Ladakh, and second union territory was Jammu and Kashmir. Ladakh do not have a state legislative assembly. It does not have a legislative assembly. However, Jammu and Kashmir does have a legislative assembly. So this is the current state. This was the previous state. Okay. Now, if I talk about the actual map of India, okay, so actual map of India is like this. Okay, I mean, like, this is Jammu and Kashmir, and so the northern portion, some of the portion is Pakistan occupied Kashmir, then some of the area is seized by Pakistan to China, means Pakistan has given to China. Then Aksai Chin, like this is an area which is occupied, okay, by China. However, it belongs to India. Okay, so this is the thing. Just to showcase, this is the, let's say, like, real-time picture, and this is, like, what we read in our maps. Now we have another topic. It says India lodges a strong protest with China over new map. Absurd claim, says minister. Now what has happened? The thing is that, like, recently Chinese government has come up with a new map, and they come up with new map every year. So this is a practice that they follow, like one of their ministry. This is known as Chinese Ministry of Natural Resources. This ministry has come up with a new map, and in that new map, means like, new map of China. In that new map of China, they have included Arunachal Pradesh as their own area. I mean, like, and they have included many other portions of India, and they have claimed it as their area. So the thing is, although this is just a map that they have released, right, for themselves, but the thing is, like, how they could claim India's territory to be their own. Okay, so this is being disputed by government of India and by ministers of different parties, by the ruling party, by the opposition party. Everybody is unanimous in this thing, that the map that they have released is absurd claim. Okay, so they have mentioned that this map, is absurd because, like, it does not hold the real picture. Because, like, if I talk about the real picture, if I talk about this is map of India. So according to map of India, like, this entire Arunachal Pradesh, this belongs to India, right? Jammu and Kashmir belongs to India. This is the thing. However, the map that China has released, they have, let's say, claimed some portion, okay, many portion of Arunachal Pradesh as theirs. Okay, so this is like, India, Pakistan, China disputed area. This map showcases the disputed area. Okay, disputed area. Apart from this, I will share some more maps with you. So This is the map of China, right? This is the map of China, previous map of China. Here, let's say, like, we have the entire this like northeastern portion mentioned as India. So this should have been the case. Okay, this should have been the case. This should have been the case. However, what they have done is, like, they have claimed our territory to be theirs. Okay, so which is not right. Okay, this is not right. So with this, like, we have another topic. This topic says Pragyan confirms sulphur near south pole of moon. Search for hydrogen. So what is Pragyan? Pragyan is a rover, right? So, like, we have sent Chandrayaan-3 mission. Okay, we have sent Chandrayaan-3 mission. So it has been sent by Indian Space Research Organization, and Chandrayaan-3 lander, right? It has made a soft landing on the south pole of the moon, and out of lander came the rover. This is rover. Okay, name of the rover is Pragyan rover. So this rover is roving on the surface of the moon. It is traveling on the surface of the moon, and it is doing in situ chemical analysis over there. So it is sharing the, let's say, data with the lander, and that lander is sending the data to ISRO. Okay, and ISRO is sharing those information with us. So it says, like, this Pragyan rover has confirmed, okay, it has confirmed the presence of sulphur near the south pole of the moon. However, this Pragyan rover is also, let's say, like, trying to find the presence of hydrogen in the south pole of the moon. Okay, so this is being done. And apart from this, here they have said that preliminary analysis have unveiled presence of aluminum, sulphur, calcium, iron, chromium, and titanium on the lunar surface. They say, like, these are revealed, these are present. Further measurements have revealed the presence of manganese, silicon, oxygen. Okay, so, like, they have said that these many chemicals, these many, let's say, like, minerals, or let's say atoms, are found on the surface of the moon, and they are identifying the presence of hydrogen. Now we have another topic. It says cyclone frequency may rise over Indian coast from the warming of Pacific. Study. Okay, now, so this study was released by, let's say, those departments that do meteorological analysis. So in India, we have one organization which is known as India Meteorological Department, IMD. So this India Meteorological Department shares, let's say, weather related information, right? It shares weather related information with us. And in this article, they have mentioned that cyclonic frequency may rise over Indian coast. Means, like, in Indian coast, we may see more instances of cyclones to be formed, right? So in your geography classes, you might have learned about what are cyclones, what are different types of cyclones, how cyclones generate, what should be the ambient temperature and pressure for generation of cyclone, and also anatomy of the cyclone that you might have understood. However, in this article, they have mentioned some important things. What are the things that they have mentioned? They have mentioned, let's say, El Nino Southern Oscillation. They have mentioned El Nino. They have mentioned La Nina. They have mentioned decadal, Pacific decadal oscillation. We are going to understand about all of them. But before that, let us see a map over here. Okay, so this is the map of the world oceans and continents. Okay, so the thing is, like, this is India here, like, this is India. I'm just, so this is Indian Ocean. And as we all know that all oceans of the world are connected with one another. Okay, all oceans are connected. So the thing is, like, if I draw a line, which is, let's say, like, let me call it to be an equatorial line. Okay, I'm just drawing a rough line. So the thing is, in the equatorial line, this is the Pacific Ocean. So we see all the oceans. For example, Atlantic Ocean, we have Southern Ocean, and we have over here, like, Arctic Ocean, like that. So this Pacific Ocean. So Pacific Ocean, some portion is here, other portion is here. This is also Pacific Ocean. So the thing is, in the eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean, eastern equatorial means, let's say, this is the equator. Okay, equator of the globe. Equator means, let's say, this is the globe. If I divide this globe into two parts, the middle line will be called as equator. This is 0 degree. So in the equatorial, in the eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean, right, whenever there is a variation in the temperature, okay, variation in the sea surface temperature, okay, variation in the sea surface temperature, which is known as SST, on the eastern Pacific Ocean, eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean. So that leads to events like El Nino and La Nina. Oh, okay, it leads to events like El Nino and La Nina, okay, events like El Nino and La Nina. And they together, right, you know, when they oscillate, one El Nino will happen, after then La Nina will happen, then El Nino will happen, then La Nina will happen, okay. So they keep on happening this way. So they are together known as El Nino Southern Oscillation, okay. In short, they are known as El Nino Southern Oscillation. So what is El Nino? El Nino means when the temperature of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, okay, eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean goes up, right? When the temperature goes up, it leads to El Nino situation. And this El Nino, let's say, like, you know, affects differently different regions of the world. And what is its effect on India? In India, generally what happens in India, this leads to increase in temperature, okay, increase in temperature. It leads to increase in droughts, okay. So droughts increase, temperatures increase. We see lesser rainfall, okay. We see lesser rainfall in India, okay, lesser rainfall. And since there is lesser rainfall, so like, you know, productivity, crop productivity goes less, and also like economy is disrupted. So this happens. This El Nino La Nina event, they happen, let's say, in a frequency of 2 to 7 years, okay, in a frequency of 2 to 7 years. Means like, you know, if El Nino comes this year, next time it may come between 2 to 7 years, maybe 4 years after that. This is the thing. So El Nino has, let's say, like, you know, temperature increases, lesser rainfall, this thing happens. La Nina is opposite of El Nino. When La Nina happens, right, La Nina means like when there will be, let's say, cooling of the sea surface temperature in the eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean. When the sea surface temperature in the eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean cools, right, this brings La Nina event for India. La Nina is associated with more rainfall, right? It is associated with more, let's say, monsoon. So because of more rainfall, we can have, let's say, incidents related to, let's say, flooding, right? So this may cause, like, you know, many disruption also. However, La Nina is beneficial for India because largely it helps in, let's say, like, you know, monsoon and crop productivity, etc. Okay. So this is the thing. And now, apart from El Nino, La Nina, okay, El Nino, La Nina are part of El Nino Southern Oscillation. Apart from El Nino, La Nina, in this article they have mentioned about Pacific Decadal Oscillation, PDO. So this Pacific Decadal Oscillation is also associated with, let's say, increasing or decreasing of sea surface temperature on the Pacific Ocean. However, this does not happen as frequently as El Nino or La Nina happens. It generally happens over a period of a decade or 10 years or more, right? 10 years or more. And because of this also, like, you know, this Pacific Decadal Oscillation has two phases. One of the phase is positive phase. It is known as positive phase. The second phase is known as negative phase of Pacific Decadal Oscillation. The positive phase of Pacific Decadal Oscillation is associated with El Nino, means like whatever happens because of El Nino in India, that same happens because of Pacific Decadal Oscillation positive phase. During negative phase, like, you know, it leads to La Nina kind of situation in India. El Nino means drought, right, more temperature, warm, etc. La Nina means more water, more rainfall, right, more monsoon. That's the thing. So these are the things that are mentioned in this article. I hope I'm clear with this topic. And apart from this, I have included some images for you so that, like, whatever I have made you understand, right, in that graph also, you can go through it, you can understand. So, like, you know, this is El Nino Southern Oscillation, the El Nino phase, the La Nina phase, both are connected with El Nino Southern Oscillation. Okay, so this is El Nino Southern Oscillation. Apart from this, the Pacific, the mechanics of Pacific Decadal Oscillation, this thing I have just explained, right? So this happens on a, let's say, decadal basis. Then we have another topic. It says dispel doubts among tribes over sickle cell disease. Okay, so you know, sickle cell anemia is associated with, let's say, like, you know, changing the shape of red blood cells. Okay, so when the shape of the red blood cells change, right, so it leads to sickle cell anemia. So these red blood cells, let's say, lose the capacity of carrying oxygen, and it leads to, let's say, blood cancer. So recently the state government of Rajasthan has not Rajasthan, Odisha, okay, state government of Odisha has initiated a project in which, like, you know, they are going to check the tribal population. Okay, they are going to check the tribal population. So they are going to check the tribal population there. Means like their blood samples are being collected by the government of Odisha, and after collecting the bloods, let's say, like, you know, blood samples, so they are checking whether, like, you know,